The Devil Wears Prada, directed by David Frankel, stars Anne Hathaway as Andy Sachs, Meryl Streep as Miranda Priestley, and Emily Blunt as Emily Charlton. Andy, a recent college graduate seeking a career in journalism, lands a job as a junior assistant to Miranda, the head of Runway magazine. Unlike normal 9-to-5 desk assistant jobs, Andy's day is filled with expensive and demanding tasks. These tasks range from getting a steak dinner from a gourmet restaurant in only 10 minutes to getting 2 copies of a Harry Potter manuscript for Miranda's twin daughters that hasn't even been released yet. Seemingly impossible, Andy manages, but sometimes work overwhelms her to the threat of losing her personal life with her boyfriend, and this leads her wanting to quit her job multiple times throughout the film. Nishi's theory of heroic individualism is where an individual needs to determine their own beliefs and actions rather than have them dictated by other people. It also includes the sovereign individual, who is the one that follows their own conscience and desires rather than the dictates, customs, and morals of the herd. In the scene where Miranda is conducting Andy's interview for the junior assistant position, Nigel, a fashion authority under Miranda, played by Stanley Tucci, interrupts. He asks Miranda for permission on the design of a headdress before continuing with his plans. Miranda portrays this philosophical idea because she is the final word on what will enter the fashion industry. Instead of agreeing with everyone else over what is trending, she is seen at a high reputable status and is the deciding factor. In another scene, Miranda attends a sneak peek of a designer's collection with some employees. Before attending, Nigel informs Andy on some signals.
There's a scale. 1 nod is good, 2 nods is very good. There's only been 1 actual smile on record, and that was Tom Ford in 2001.
An Obi belt.
If she doesn't like it, she shakes her head. Then, of course, there's the pursing of the lips.
Which means?
Catastrophe.
Miranda is the sovereign individual because despite the designer and rest of the audience loving the collection, Miranda purses her lips when she sees the designer's favorite gown. Once the question of freedom from what has been answered, the question of freedom for what seems all the more urgent. If I do not know what I want, I am helpless in the face of endless possibilities. I feel that I am nothing. Instead of being afraid of my freedom, I am afraid of my freedom. Carl Jaspers. In the final scenes of the film, Miranda and Andy are riding in a taxi. On their way to a showcase, Miranda tells Andy how much she reminds her of her younger self. At this point, Andy realizes she does not want to turn into Miranda.
I mean, what if I don't want to live the way you live?
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants to be us.
When Miranda steps out of the taxi, Andy is no longer behind her. Instead, Andy chooses to run to a fountain across the street. This scene resembles Jasper's quote because Andy is running away to her own happy ending. She has thought about quitting numerous times but felt guilty that she was leaving Miranda on her own. This is the most enlightening moment in the film because when Andy runs away, she is finally free of Miranda and can start her own path as a journalist. When Miranda turns around and realizes Andy is gone, she panics and calls her. Instead of answering, Andy laughs and throws her phone in the fountain, and the film ends with her walking away.